My Lords, it's a great pleasure to join this rich debate in which the House is blooming with eloquence as we focus on the value of green and blue to all of our futures, to our health and well-being, and of course to the planet. I want to particularly commend the contribution of the noble lady Baroness Willis in terms of adding blue spaces here, and I think it's what we need to focus on, and I want to cross-reference here Amendment 115 that we started with. We're used to, historically, the 20th century approach was to go, there's some water, we've got to get it away, flush it away, get rid of it, manage it like it's a problem. But actually, of course, water is crucial, absolutely critical to our life and well-being, and we need to treasure it and value it and hold it around us rather than treat it as a waste product, which is far too often been the case. I'm also going to add an extra colour to the mix. I want to think about valuing brown spaces, or at least thinking about valuing the soil, which is, of course, the foundation of the greenery on which we are aiming to cultivate. And I'm doing that particularly in the context of a round table that I was at yesterday with the Sustainable Soils Alliance and Durham University, chaired by Dr. Merlin Sheldrake. And we heard there from some academics from Finland doing some absolutely wonderful innovative research from the National Resources Institute Finland, known as LUK, looking at the public health impact of living healthy soils. Some really interesting research done with preschoolers and ensuring that their nurseries had living soil and what positive impacts that had on everything from their immune systems to their asthma rates to diabetes, a whole range of really measurable impacts of a healthy natural environment, of healthy soils being there. And it was calculated that healthy soils, people living in healthy soils, could save the NHS £19 billion a year. So let's have green, blue, and let's add brown as well. And when we're talking about biodiversity, far too often we hear people talking about good soils are vital for biodiversity. No, good soils are biodiversity, and we need to focus on that of a living probiotic world, a pro-health world for all of us. With those general comments and offering green support for all of these amendments, I'm going to specifically focus on Amendment 149 that appears in my name and thank the noble Lord Gascoigne, Baroness Miller and Baroness Willis for supporting it. And I'll note that this is actually an amendment that was drawn to my attention that I've picked up from a Labour MP in the other place, Sarah Champion. It was Amendment 91 in the debate in the other place. So this is the broadest of broad cross-party support. Now, it picks up points made by many others that the government saying these green spaces would be nice to have is not nearly good enough. This needs to be law. So that's why, pointing to the actual insertion proposed in the bill in this amendment, a spatial development strategy must include policies related to the provision and protection of land for community gardening and allotments. It requires planning authorities to act, not just suggest to them that it might be a good idea, which is exactly where we are now. And I note that this is an amendment that has backing from the Royal Horticultural Society, the Horticultural Trade Association, members of the National Community Garden Network and the National Allotment Society. And I should perhaps at this point declare my fellowship with the Industry and Parliament Trust with the Horticultural Trade Association. Now, just to make the case, I'm really not sure that I need to, but I think it's important to put on the record, allotments and community gardens are vital for health, well-being, for food security, one of the issues, the coming issues of our age, and for environmental sustainability. And these are, of course, community spaces, places where people gather, do outdoor activities, make social connections, where they learn, as well as producing food. And the fact is, there's a huge shortage of allotments in the UK now. Nearly 160,000 people are on English local authority waiting lists, and 8 million people in the UK have no garden at home. Now, the Honourable Member for Rotherham in the other place referred to the fact, the kind of conversations others have already referred to, that she had spoken to the Minister who said in response, well, there's nothing to stop local authorities doing this. Well, no, but we need to say that this is an essential. And as the Honourable Member for Rotherham said, a person's space to grow should not be dependent on their postcode or the whims of their local council. The loss of allotment land over the past 75 years, 60% of allotment land has been lost over the last 75 years, has been 8 times greater in deprived communities than in wealthier communities. And I note in the Sir Chris Whitty said in 2024, making access to green space easier and more equitable would go a long way towards removing barriers to improving physical activity levels, and could significantly improve the health of England's increasingly urban population. Surely a Labor government wants to make sure these equality and equity issues are tackled. Just one final thought. The Honourable Member described these as small but mighty green spaces, which I think is a lovely phrase. We're thinking about the land use strategy. The government is thinking about a land use strategy. One of the things we're very aware of is that we don't have enough land and we have to have multiple uses of the same piece of land. Allotments and community gardens, with all of the different ways in which they contribute to society, are pretty well the definition of multiple uses benefiting societies, communities and nature. So surely we should be including this, but I will finish with a final suggestion that I think we really, when we get to report stage, should not be competing against each other when we're thinking about this. I think we should be thinking about an amendment that can incorporate all of the elements in this group and bring them together, and if the government hasn't already seen the light, let's make sure that the House sends them a very strong message incorporating all of these elements.